Week 14, day 2. I want to go back to day 1, page 82. Look at the 2 questions at the bottom. Why does tolerance take courage? Part of intolerance is being a coward. You hear that? The one thing that you've got to have to be tolerant is courage. Cowards are intolerant. I'm going to tell you a story before we do the lesson today. In 1984, I went to a town in East Texas to coach football. And the number one thing that people told me when I got to the town, is that we had a very high percentage of single parents, and there was lots of our players that didn't have fathers and or a father figure in their life. And that's true all over America, not just East Texas, but that was the one thing that we heard a lot of complaints about. So we said, okay, we can either complain about it or we can do something about it. We're going to respond to it. We're not going to react to it and just use it and whine about it. So we started a program called the Adopt a Mav. Okay, you with me? And if you were a member of the Booster Club, you didn't have to work at the concession stand. You didn't have to do any work. You didn't have to pay any money. But you had to adopt a football player. There was no blood kin to you. So we had several people that did it. Matter of fact, the first year, we had so few that some people, like Joel Truelove, bless his soul, he and Barbara, they had to have 4 or 5 Mavericks because we didn't have enough to have a Maverick for each person. And the players signed a release so that the Joel Truelove and the boosters could go and get their grades and check their grades and do things like this. And there were certain things that they had to do. They had to wear the jersey of their Maverick. If it was an away game, they wore their home jersey. If it was a home game, they wore their away jersey. So there were several things. Then Monday night, they had to come to the Booster Club meeting. And the beginning of the Booster Club meeting was we handed out the awards from last Friday night, and they had to be there to cheer on their Maverick. Well, we had a gentleman that came to see me that had been the president of the Booster Club and was a huge Maverick booster. And we just arbitrarily picked names out of a hat. We didn't assign anybody. We didn't pick them. And he came, and I said, okay, here's the guy that you've got. And he said, Coach, he's black. I said, yeah, I know. I know that. Give me somebody else. This man was an older man that had lived in a segregated East Texas town, never gone to school with the African Americans, never really was forced to ever have any dealings with African Americans. He had enough money and enough in his situation that his dealings had never been with the African American, and so he really had no knowledge of the African Americans. And I said, no, you either take him or you get nobody and you're not in the Booster. I've been president of the Booster Club. I said, I don't care what you've been, it's what are you going to be? All right, I'll do it. And I forget about it. You know, you get into the season and you completely forget about it, and I never thought another thing about it, really, to be honest with you. Because the kid was not a great football player, and there was no reason for me to really know anything. He didn't cause any problems. There weren't any grade problems or anything like that. So I never really had to get involved with the adopt-a-parent. So the next spring we came up and we said, okay, we're going to have the adoption. Now the last years we were in this town, every Maverick had 3 or 4 adopted parents because all of a sudden it became a great thing in the city. Well, he comes to me and he says, I'll just keep the same kid I had last year. I said, he's black. I know he's black. Yeah, he's a great kid. He's unbelievable. What changed? Kid's color didn't change. See, his whole concept of African American changed. His tolerance level was 1 or 0. And by the next spring, after dealing with this individual, this player, for 1 year, his tolerance level was 10. He went on and helped this young man go to college, and they still, until the man died, they had a great relationship. Tolerance? Exactly. You want to go up in tolerance? Then what you do is develop this quality. Learn other people. Have the courage to find out about other people rather than prejudging them. The word prejudice comes from the word prejudge. You judge someone before you ever know them, simply based on color or religion or whatever it might be. You've heard this poem before, but it is such a powerful poem. 6 men were trapped by circumstance in bleak and bitter cold. Each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the stories tell it. And then when these guys are out in the woods, freezing cold, but each one of them has got a stick of wood. 6 of them. The dying fire's going out, in need of logs. The first man held his back because the faces around the fire, he noticed one was black. I'm not heating up that black guy. That's the same as that Maverick booster. I'm not heating up the black kids. I'm just here for the kids, the white kids. The second man saw not one of his own local church and couldn't bring himself to give his stick of birch. Now the dying fire is going out. If that fire goes out, they're going to freeze to death. And this guy's sitting there and he doesn't see anybody in his church, and he sees some guys from the other churches. These other 5 guys belong to other churches. They're not of his religion. So I'm not giving them no wood. I'm not heating them. The poor man sat in tattered clothes and gave his coat a hitch. Why should he give up his log to warm the idle rich? Those rich guys. There are some guys here that are rich, and they've always looked down their nose at me. They've been condescending. I'm not giving them any wood. The rich man sat and thought of all the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had from the lazy, shiftless poor. I'm rich. I'm not giving you poor people anything. The black man's face spoke revenge, and the fire passed from his sight because he saw in his stick of wood a chance to spite the white. You white people have always treated me with contempt. Ain't no wood. I'm not giving him wood. The last man of this, the 6th guy, the forlorn group, did not except for gain. Only to those who gave to him was how he played the game. If you're not going to give me your stick of wood, then you got to give yours first. Their logs held tight in death-still hands was proof of human sin. They didn't die from the cold without. They died from the cold within. The fire went out. See, that's America today. If we don't use every single person that we have, the fire is going to go out. And it doesn't matter what color they are, what religion they are, anything. If we don't become tolerant, more tolerant, and quit judging people by the skin color, their religion, their socioeconomic background, we're never going to build a great fire. You can build the fire if everyone. Last point about this. What if the first one would have thrown the wood in? See, what you got to be is you got to be the guy that throws the first stick of wood in. You got to be the guy that everybody sees as being tolerant. Increase your tolerance today. See you tomorrow.